Good morning. Hello. Welcome to Happy Friday. My name is Sandra Kaiser. I'm the Vice President of College Relations here and the moderator for today's Staff Town Hall. We know there are a lot of unanswered questions right now for everybody, and the future remains a little difficult to discern. But today we're going to try to do our very best to convey what we know now, what we're working on, and where we think the college is heading.
Because there is immense uncertainty about how widespread the virus will be in the fall, where we'll be, we need to have contingency plans ready for all aspects of campus in the event that the public health situation changes. Another area of uncertainty is how the virus has affected and will affect the budgets of our state and the budgets of our colleges and universities. Closure of our residence halls, conferences and events, and other related activities here at Evergreen have resulted in a loss of a few $1 million that we routinely count on to pay the college's bills, above and beyond the enrollment challenges we face. And key point, these are not paper losses of funds that can be moved around or away with accounting practices. They are dollars counted on for operations, dollars that are gone. Two sources provide the revenue supporting Evergreen's budget: tuition and state support. As a state agency, we rely heavily on state support and the goodwill of the governor and the legislature. And as you likely know from media accounts, the state has its own financial challenges as a result of the virus. State revenues largely come from sales and business taxes. As sales have dropped and businesses closed, revenues to the state general funds have dropped significantly. Early projections of the state's losses for just this year, that is, the year ending June 30, run about $3.7 billion. That's about 13% of the state's annual budget. So I'll be perfectly honest with you. This is going to be hard, and it will be with us for a while. It will mean rethinking how we work and serve our students. I'll add that every member of the campus community will need to adapt just to share the burden of that impact. And I want to note, anticipating this, I've informed the trustees that I will voluntarily take a reduction in my salary for the next year, and I've already asked all the senior leadership team to do so. I am confident they will. Am I confident we will make this through as a college? Let me be clear. Hell yes. We will. We are very strong, smart, have the support of the governor and the legislature, and the most competent and capable staff I've worked with in my career. Evergreen can adapt like no other school, and we will most certainly adapt successfully to this.
Will there be layoffs?
The question about layoffs, I think actually it has two parts. And so for all of us to know, the COVID environment has created a real budget crisis for some of our auxiliaries. Those are the fee-for-service areas of the college where the fees are what pays the salaries of the staff. And if we're not providing the service, we're not charging the fee, we're not collecting the money we need to pay those salaries. We've been able to keep that afloat for a while, but we've reached the point where some temporary furloughs are happening in some areas. And the other part of the question is related to the college's need to curtail budgets overall. And until we know what the legislature is going to do, it's hard to know how much we need to cut the budget. Right now, we're working on a plan to cut spending 10% next year, which is a substantial cut. But I expect that after the legislature acts, that they will have to come into special session and at some point, and when they act, we'll probably need to cut more.
Are online classes every bit as good as on-campus classes? If they are as good, then why would we ever return to our campus classes? If they are not as good as on-campus classes, then how do we justify charging regular tuition rates?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to split it into two parts. So first, are online classes as good as on-campus classes? The answer is that they can be in some curricular areas if they are designed to be offered online. We are working to expand our capacity to both teach remotely in a high quality way and to build some capacity to design and deliver online experiences. The second part of the question is if they are as good, why would we return to on-campus classes? And if not as good, how to justify regular tuition. I think it's important to note that for Evergreen, our experiential approach to teaching and learning and our brand, right, our commitments, our mission, vision, values, and our brand really does require some face-to-face. And it's also worth noting that it's not less expensive to deliver online or remote experiences unless you build a business model like a place like Western Governors University has, which requires using adjuncts, paying adjuncts in a very different way than we do. But online teaching and learning and instruction is not less expensive when you're talking about working within a more traditionally structured institution.
Question about the anecdotally, I'm feeling good about the quality of what we're doing right now, and she's absolutely right. It's certainly not less expensive for us to be providing classes this way right now.
Okay, we'll move on. Next question, also for you, John. My major questions have to do with how the new economic situation exists in the state. With both the large amounts of money that have been needed to pay for care for the ill and unemployment benefits for the 1 in 5 Washington residents who have filed so far, and a steep recession predicted even when the stay-at-home, stay-healthy orders have been eased, our already precarious financial position will be complicated, given both that we don't yet know how the pandemic will further erode our enrollment numbers, and the fact that there weren't enough faculty who took the retirement separation incentives offered. How many staff will lose their jobs because of all of these things, particularly when it will be even harder to find new work in a recession for those who lose positions? It's something I know many staff are worried about.
Yeah, thanks for that. That is a very thoughtful question, and I would say on top of all the health concerns we have right now, and concerns for our own health and each other's health and family members, this economic shock is almost certainly the largest economic shock that any of us have lived through in our lifetime. So we can compare it to 9/11. I can think about how the college navigated that environment. I can compare it to the Great Recession. But this is obviously different both in origin and in magnitude. And so it creates a lot of uncertainty right now. George mentioned that in his opening remarks, but our financial condition depends on enrollment and state support. And usually by this time of year, the amount of uncertainty we're dealing with is reducing, is beginning to resolve. Students are registering for the fall, and we're getting a pretty good idea of what enrollment next year is going to look like. And the legislature has adjourned, so we know what state support we can count on. And both of those things are really up in the air right now. We do have some enrollment metrics, but frankly, I don't know what to make of them. We know from surveys, we know students are thinking about taking nationally, students are thinking about taking a year off, or they're thinking about sticking closer to home and attending a community college instead of heading off to college. On the other hand, when unemployment is high, we usually expect to see enrollment go up. Students, I don't think, are going to make enrollment decisions on our timeline right now. So applications were down this year, about 10%, I think. But I was talking to Sharon Goodman the other day, and although Brad is planning for low occupancy, she's been surprised at the number of students who are paying deposits for housing earlier than we thought they would. And so the indicators are mixed. I just think it means we're going to live in this uncertain state for a while. And that's true of the legislature as well. So the state's tax system is extremely vulnerable to shocks like this. And we saw headlines earlier in the week that they've got a $3.7 billion shortfall in the general fund, and some of the other smaller funds that also support our budget are even in worse shape. So we know they've got to come back for a special session to make more cuts, but we don't know when they're going to do that, and we don't know how deep the cuts are going to be, and we don't know because they don't know. They I think are hopeful, and I've heard from Denny Heck that he's hopeful too, that the next federal relief act will include relief for state and local governments. That would help the state, and that in turn would help us. But I think they don't want to move to make more cuts until they know what that's going to look like. So we just have a lot of uncertainty here, which is an uncomfortable place to be. But it's an extraordinary time we're living through.
I will go now to what I think will be our last question, at least for now, and then I'll turn to George to close us out. The question is, given that A, our faculty-student ratio was already out of balance, B, we aren't meeting our students' needs in high-demand content areas, and C, we were already in a significant financial deficit before this crisis, at what point will the college consider declaring a financial emergency so that we can right-size and reorganize the faculty pool? If staff and co-curricular programs are taking all the cuts again, retention will continue to drop and our financial situation will continue to get worse.
Well, that's a big question. I think it is true that enrollment has fallen faster than faculty have retired. We have lost a lot of faculty lines. I think we need to remember that. Over 30 faculty lines in the last 3 years, which has been a challenge for us. At the same time, we have a ratio, a student-faculty ratio, to which we normally build the curriculum. And that means a lot of classes are under-enrolled currently. There are also a lot of classes that are over-enrolled with long wait lists. But that is a serious challenge for us. The faculty salary pool is almost a third of our college operating budget. And if the college is facing budget reductions, we can't achieve those without also looking at the faculty salary pool. And we are actively looking at that. This is obviously a question that we need to engage with the union on, and we will.
Thank you. Well, it's been a tough discussion, a very candid one. Thank you for outstanding questions. And George, would you like to have the final word?
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. And thanks all for participating and for your questions. They're good and they're right. Someone recently asked me why I continue to be so optimistic about the college and its future. And my response was really direct. Why wouldn't I be optimistic? Evergreen's trademark is innovation. We can adapt to circumstances like no other college. I'm optimistic because I resolutely believe in us. I believe in the governor and the legislature's commitment to us. And I believe in our dedication to our students, our willingness to change as circumstances change, and our capacity to collaborate brilliantly with one another. We can do this. We will. We can be optimistic. I am. Thanks all. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Quoting our governor, wash your hands, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Hey, kiddo. Oh, it's a selfie. It's a selfie.